So welcome to part one of my advanced Rubik's Cube tutorials. In this video I'm actually going to teach you how to rotate any three pieces on the cube without screwing up the rest of the cube. And the reason why this method is so nice is because it requires absolutely no memorization. Alright, and I highly recommend that you actually know how to solve the cube using your own method first before you learn this. But I feel that this method which I'm about to teach you, although it may be a little bit more difficult at first, in the end you're going to find it much more enjoyable just because there is no memorization involved and essentially you're solving the cube a different way every single time. Like I said before, in this video we're actually going to rotate any three pieces of the cube without screwing up the rest of the cube. And if you take a look at this cube I have right here, it's completely solved, and there's only three pieces that are out of position. This corner piece right here, this corner piece right here, and this corner piece right here. This piece is white, blue, and red, so that means this piece needs to go into this position since the center is white, blue, and red. So this piece needs to go into this position, this piece needs to go into this position, and this piece needs to go into this position. Essentially, all these pieces need to be rotated counterclockwise. Okay, and there are some conditions that we need to do, or there's some conditions that need to be met before we get started rotating these pieces. The conditions are that two pieces need to be in the top layer and one piece needs to be not in the top layer. So those conditions are met. We have two pieces that are in the top layer and we need to have one piece that is not in the top layer. Okay? So, the only thing that you need to have memorized is this simple formula. And the formula is x, y, x prime, y prime. That's the only thing that you need to know to rotate any three pieces on the cube. And you're probably asking yourself, what the heck does all these letters mean? What does x mean? What does x prime mean? That's going to make a lot more sense once we get started with using this method. Alright, so let's just dig right into it and get started right away. So, like I said before, this piece needs to go into this position right here. So, my x in that formula is actually going to be the sequence of moves that puts this piece into this position. Okay, so the x in that formula is the sequence of moves that puts this piece into this position. All right. So, in order to do that, the sequence of moves is going to be right counterclockwise, bottom clockwise, right clockwise. Okay. So now we have correctly put the piece that was here correctly into this position, just using three moves. Okay. So that sequence of moves that we just did is our x. All right. Now, our next thing that we need to do is our y, because that's our second part of the formula. Our second part of the formula is the y. The y is always one move. That one move is always the other piece in the top layer that needs to replace the piece that we just put in. So we're going to replace this piece with our other piece that's in the top layer. So that's going to be our y. Our y is going to be that one move, which is the top counterclockwise. Like I said before, we replace this piece with the other piece in the top layer. All right. So now our next part of the formula is x prime. Okay. X prime is just the opposite of x. So since the last move in our x was right clockwise, our first move in x prime is going to be right counterclockwise. Since our second to last move in x was bottom clockwise, then our second move in x prime is going to be bottom counterclockwise. Since our first move in the x sequence was right counterclockwise, that means our last move in the x prime is going to be right clockwise. Alright, now we have completed our x prime, so our next part of the formula is our y prime. Once again, your y prime is just the opposite of y. Since our y was the top counterclockwise, then our y prime is going to be top clockwise. So notice how all three pieces are rotated into their correct positions, and also notice how all three pieces are orientated correctly. This does not always happen. When you rotate three pieces into their correct positions, they're not always going to be flipped or orientated the correct way. Which brings me to my next point. There are ways in which you can expand on this method so you will know beforehand how the pieces are actually going to be orientated in the end. But I wanted to make this video as easy as possible since it's my first one, and I will be making many more videos on this method using different examples. So I hope you enjoyed this, and until my next one, I will see you later.